I'm Mave Sinclair, 31 years old, and 3 years ago I was a rising star in Portland, Oregon's vibrant graphic design scene. My life was a canvas of possibility. Freelance projects for local breweries and indie bookstores, a cozy loft apartment filled with my sketches, and late-night coffee runs with friends who shared my passion for art. I was even starting to fall for a charming photographer named Ryan, whose quiet smile made me believe in the kind of love you see in indie films. But all of that changed with a single phone call that unraveled my carefully painted world. My grandmother, Eleanor Sinclair, was declining fast, her sharp mind dulled by the creeping fog of dementia. And somehow, I became the only one willing to step up to care for her, sacrificing everything to ensure she could live with dignity in the home she'd cherished for decades. While I rearranged my entire existence, my cousins, Sophia, Ethan, and Lucas, carried on with their glittering lives. Sophia, a marketing guru in San Francisco, posted about her high-profile campaigns and rooftop cocktail parties. Ethan, a software developer in Seattle, was always jetting off to tech summits, his startup funded by family loans that never needed repaying. Lucas, fresh out of a finance program in Chicago, filled his social media with European adventures and networking events. They were building empires while I was emptying my savings to buy Eleanor's medications, trading my dreams for her comfort. My mother, Patricia, a part-time accountant, offered sympathetic words but claimed her schedule was too tight to help. In our family, I was the dependable one, the one who fixed problems, the one who didn't say no. So I packed up my life, left my apartment, and moved into Eleanor's charming craftsman home in Portland's Laurelhurst neighborhood, its rose-lined porch a stark contrast to the weight of the responsibility I carried. For 3 years, I navigated Eleanor's unpredictable world. Some days, she'd regale me with stories of her days running a financial consulting firm, her voice bright with the fire of a woman who defied expectations in a male-dominated field. Other days, she'd stare at me, confused, asking why a stranger was in her kitchen. I learned to braid her silver hair the way she liked, memorized her favorite telenovela schedules, and held her hand through endless doctor's appointments. My social life withered. Ryan's texts stopped coming when I canceled too many dates. My portfolio, once brimming with bold designs, gathered digital dust. My cousins sent occasional flowers or emojis in a family group chat, but their promises to visit or help with expenses never materialized. I was alone, pouring my heart into keeping Eleanor's world intact, believing family duty trumped personal ambition. Then came the will reading in a sleek, walnut-paneled conference room in downtown Portland. My family sat around the polished table, dressed in designer suits and subtle perfumes, already whispering about how they'd split Eleanor's modest estate. My mother fretted about funeral costs, as if Eleanor's life could be reduced to a balance sheet. When the lawyer, Evelyn Harper, announced that I, Mave Sinclair, would receive $5, the room erupted in laughter. Sophia, her perfectly manicured nails tapping her coffee cup, let out a snort she didn't bother to hide. Ethan high-fived Lucas, their smug grins saying everything they didn't need to voice. "Guess Eleanor finally put Mave in her place," Sophia whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. My cheeks burned, my chest tightened, and for a moment I questioned everything, my sacrifices, my love, my worth. 3 years of giving up my career, my friendships, my 20s reduced to a cruel joke. But Evelyn Harper wasn't finished. With a calm that cut through the room's mockery, she adjusted her glasses and said, "However, Eleanor Sinclair also left a safety deposit box at Wells Fargo, to be opened only in the presence of Mave Sinclair and myself." The laughter died instantly. Sophia's smirk vanished. Ethan's posture stiffened. Lucas's eyes darted to me, suddenly wary. The air crackled with tension as my family realized their assumptions about Eleanor and about me were about to be shattered. As I followed Evelyn out of the room, their gazes burned into my back, a mix of suspicion and dread. They had no idea that what lay in that safety deposit box wasn't just money or documents, it was Eleanor's final act, a revelation that would rewrite our family's story and show me the power of a woman who'd watched us all from the shadows, seeing truths we'd never dared to face. If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. Picture this. I'm sitting in a sleek, walnut-paneled conference room in downtown Portland, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and my family's barely concealed greed. My cousins, Sophia, Ethan, and Lucas, lounge in their tailored suits and designer dresses, their whispered plans for dividing Grandma Eleanor's estate floating like a toxic cloud. Sophia, a high-flying marketing exec from San Francisco, checks her phone, probably calculating how much of Eleanor's modest savings will fund her next Napa Valley getaway. Ethan, a tech bro running a startup in Seattle, trades knowing glances with Lucas, fresh from his finance degree in Chicago, as if they've already split the proceeds from selling Eleanor's Craftsman home. My mother, Patricia, fusses about funeral costs, her voice tinged with that familiar performative worry, as if Eleanor's life amounted to a small bank account and a few trinkets. I sit there in a simple black dress I once wore to client pitches, feeling like an outsider in my own family, my hands clenched in my lap, my heart heavy with 3 years of sacrifices they'll never understand. Then Evelyn Harper, the lawyer, clears her throat. Her silver hair catches the light, and her voice cuts through the room's murmur with quiet authority. To my granddaughter, Mave Sinclair, I leave the sum of $5. The words hang in the air for a split second before the room erupts. Sophia lets out a snort, covering her mouth but not her mocking grin. Then high-fives Lucas, their laughter sharp and cruel. "Guess Eleanor finally figured out Mave's worth," Sophia whispers, loud enough for everyone to hear, her words slicing into me like a paper cut. My face burns, my chest tightens, and for a moment I'm drowning in shame. 3 years, giving up my cozy loft in Portland's Pearl District, my thriving graphic design career, the fleeting spark of a romance with Ryan, my dreams of starting a family, all reduced to a $5 bill. I want to scream, to remind them of the nights I stayed up soothing Eleanor's confusion, the days I spent fighting insurance companies, the life I put on hold. But I stay silent, my throat tight with unshed tears, wondering if I misread Eleanor's love. But Evelyn Harper isn't done. She adjusts her glasses, her gaze sweeping the room with a hint of disapproval. "However," she says, her voice steady and deliberate, "Eleanor Sinclair also maintained a safety deposit box at Wells Fargo, with explicit instructions that it be opened only in the presence of Mave Sinclair and myself." The laughter dies like a snuffed-out candle. Sophia's smirk vanishes, her phone forgotten. Ethan sits up, his jaw tight. Lucas's eyes narrow, suddenly seeing me not as the family doormat but as a threat. The room's energy shifts, electric with suspicion and unspoken fear. My family's gazes bore into me, their earlier amusement replaced by something darker, resentment, maybe, or dread. As I stand to follow Evelyn out, their eyes track me, heavy with questions they don't dare ask. They have no idea that the safety deposit box holds more than assets. It's Eleanor's final lesson, a reckoning about love, exploitation, and the worth I've been conditioned to doubt. Walking through Portland's bustling streets to Wells Fargo, I feel like I'm moving through a dream. The November air is crisp, carrying the scent of rain and coffee from nearby cafes, but my mind is a storm of doubt and hope. Evelyn walks beside me, her heels clicking with purpose, her silence both comforting and unnerving. "Eleanor spoke of you often," she says as we pause at a crosswalk, her voice softening. "She said you were her anchor, the one who saw her as more than a fading memory." Her words catch me off guard. I had no idea Eleanor met with her lawyer regularly, let alone talked about me. The image of my grandmother, whom everyone assumed was lost to dementia, quietly planning something monumental while I organized her pill bottles and read her romance novels, it's almost too much to process. 3 years ago, my life was a vibrant tapestry. I was a freelance graphic designer, turning abstract ideas into bold visuals for Portland's eclectic brands, craft breweries, artisanal bakeries, indie bookstores. My loft was a haven of creativity, walls covered in sketches, floors strewn with art supplies. I dreamed of opening my own design studio, a space where I could mentor young artists and build a legacy of my own. I was even falling for Ryan, a photographer whose quiet intensity made my heart race. But then my mother called, her voice tight with that familiar mix of urgency and detachment. "Mave, Eleanor's declining fast," she said. "Someone needs to step in." That someone was never a question. My family had their excuses ready. Sophia was too busy with her San Francisco ad campaigns. Ethan was chasing venture capital for his tech startup in Seattle. Lucas was swamped with his finance studies in Chicago. My mother, a part-time accountant, claimed her erratic schedule made caregiving impossible. So, as always, the responsibility fell to me, the reliable one, the one without a serious career or family to tie me down. I didn't hesitate long. I loved Eleanor, her sharp wit, her stories of building a financial consulting firm in an era when women were rarely taken seriously. So I gave up my loft, took an unpaid leave from my design gigs, and moved into the spare bedroom of Eleanor's craftsman home in Laurelhurst, its rose-covered porch a bittersweet reminder of the life I was leaving behind. The early days were a blur of medical appointments, insurance battles, and learning to navigate Eleanor's shifting reality. Some mornings, she'd greet me with a smile, recounting how she outsmarted corporate clients with her financial savvy. Other times, she'd wake up frantic, thinking she was late for a meeting from 20 years ago, or worse, ask why a stranger was in her house. I became her anchor, braiding her hair the way she liked, cooking her favorite recipes, and reading her romance novels aloud, doing the voices for each character to make her laugh. But the weight of it all, financial strain, isolation, the slow erosion of my own dreams, grew heavier each day. My cousin's initial gratitude was fleeting. Sophia sent a bouquet once, calling me a saint in her card, but her visits never materialized. Ethan set up a family group chat, filled with heart emojis at first, but it soon went silent. Lucas promised to chip in for groceries, but never followed through. My savings dwindled as I covered Eleanor's medications, utility bills, and home repairs. Meanwhile, my cousin's social media was a constant reminder of the lives they led. Sophia's glamorous events, Ethan's tech conferences, Lucas's yacht parties abroad. My own online presence faded. What could I post? Pictures of pill organizers? Screenshots of doctor's appointment confirmations? My best friend Lila saw through it all. "They're using you, Mave," she said over coffee one rare afternoon I could steal away. "They get to live their dreams while you're stuck playing martyr. It's not fair." But I brushed her off, convincing myself that family duty mattered more than personal ambition. Back in the conference room, as Evelyn's words about the safety deposit box sank in, I saw my family's true colors laid bare. Their laughter at my $5 inheritance wasn't just cruel, it was a window into how they'd always seen me. The disposable helper, the one who'd handle the messy work while they reaped the rewards. As I walked out with Evelyn, I felt a spark of something new, curiosity, maybe hope that Eleanor, the woman I'd loved and lost myself to care for, had one last secret to share. Whatever was in that safety deposit box, I knew it would change everything, not just for me, but for the family who thought they'd won by laughing at my expense. I moved into Grandma Eleanor's stunning craftsman home in Portland's Laurelhurst neighborhood, a place that felt like a time capsule of her vibrant life. Its rose-lined porch and stained glass windows glowed with history, a testament to the 10 years she'd lived there alone since Grandpa's passing. I gave up my airy loft in the Pearl District, took an unpaid leave from my graphic design gigs, and settled into her guest room, its walls papered with faded florals that seemed to whisper stories of her past. The first few months were a whirlwind, endless medical appointments, heated calls with insurance companies, and learning to navigate Eleanor's increasingly unpredictable world. On her good days, she was the sharp-spirited woman who'd built a financial consulting firm from a corner desk in her sunroom, regaling me with tales of outsmarting skeptical clients in the 1970s. She'd point to her award-winning rose garden, describing how she'd coaxed each bloom to perfection. But on her bad days, her eyes would cloud with confusion and she'd ask, "Who are you and why are you in my house?" Those moments broke my heart, but I stayed, determined to keep her anchored in the home she loved. There was something I never told anyone, a secret that unfolded in Eleanor's final months. She started leaving handwritten notes scattered around the house, their trembling script still unmistakably hers. I found them in the strangest places, tucked inside her worn copy of Pride and Prejudice, slipped under her pillow, even hidden in her favorite tin of chamomile tea. One read, "Mave, you are my light. Don't let them dim it." First, I thought they were fleeting thoughts, fragments of her fading mind. But as they accumulated, I began to see them as pieces of a larger puzzle, a message I wasn't yet ready to decipher. One evening, as I read her a romance novel, her hand gripped mine with surprising strength. "Mave," she said, her eyes blazing with clarity, "I know how much you've given up. I see it all." "They don't, but I do." Her words sent a shiver through me, as if she were guarding a secret too heavy for me to carry just yet. Those notes became my lifeline, glowing faintly in the long, lonely nights when exhaustion and doubt threatened to swallow me whole. Caring for Eleanor was all-consuming. I'd braid her silver hair the way she liked, cook her favorite chicken tortilla soup, and sit with her through telenovelas, mimicking the characters' voices to coax a smile. But the isolation was relentless. My savings dwindled as I covered her prescriptions, groceries, and the cost of fixing her leaky roof. My cousin's gestures of support were hollow. Sophia sent a bouquet of lilies once, her card calling me an angel, but she never showed up. Ethan created a family group chat, filled with heart emojis and promises to visit, but the messages tapered off within weeks. Lucas swore he'd help with grocery bills, but his checks never arrived. Meanwhile, their social media feeds mocked me with their carefree lives, Sophia sipping wine at Napa Valley galas, Ethan posing at Silicon Valley tech summits, Lucas posting from a yacht in the Mediterranean. Their worlds sparkled while mine shrank to pill schedules and doctor's visits. My best friend Lila saw it clearly. "They're taking advantage of you, Mave," she said one rainy afternoon over coffee. "You're giving up everything, and they're giving you nothing but empty praise." I wanted to argue to say family duty was worth it, but deep down I knew she was right. The walk to Wells Fargo with Evelyn Harper felt surreal, like stepping into a parallel universe where Portland's familiar streets, lined with food carts and cyclists, felt foreign. The November air was sharp, carrying the scent of wet pavement and impending snow. My mind churned with questions. What was in that safety deposit box? Why had Eleanor kept it a secret? Evelyn broke the silence as we crossed Burnside Street. "Eleanor spoke of you often during our meetings," she said, her voice warm but measured. "She was so proud of you, Mave, proud of the woman you'd become." Her words hit me like a jolt. I hadn't known Eleanor met with her lawyer regularly, let alone discussed me. The idea that she'd been planning something while I was managing her medications and coaxing her to eat felt both comforting and disorienting. What had she seen in me that I couldn't see in myself? At Wells Fargo, we entered a stately brick building, its marble lobby exuding old-world permanence. The bank manager, Patricia Wells, greeted us with quiet sympathy. "Eleanor was a remarkable woman," she said, leading us to the vault. "Far sharper than people gave her credit for, even in her final years." Her words echoed Evelyn's, stirring a flicker of hope that Eleanor's notes weren't just random musings. The vault was a fortress, its steel walls and chilled air making me shiver. Eleanor's safety deposit box was larger than I'd expected, a heavy metal rectangle that required 2 hands to lift. In a sterile viewing room, Evelyn opened it, revealing meticulously organized folders, each labeled in Eleanor's precise handwriting. This wasn't the chaotic collection of an elderly woman, it was the work of someone who'd spent decades bringing order to financial chaos. The first folder held property deeds, not just for the Craftsman House but for 6 rental properties across Portland, all paid off and generating steady income. I stared, stunned. Eleanor had never mentioned owning anything beyond her home. The second folder revealed stock certificates, municipal bonds, and investment accounts, a portfolio built since the 1970s worth an estimated $25 million. My breath caught. The woman who clipped coupons and worried about utility bills had been a financial mastermind, hiding her wealth behind a facade of frugality. But it was the third folder that broke me. Inside was a letter in Eleanor's handwriting, addressed to me. "My dearest Mave," it began, "by the time you read this, you'll know I wasn't as confused as everyone thought. Every choice I made was deliberate, including letting you care for me when I could have afforded the best nurses money could buy." Tears blurred my vision as I read her words, realizing she'd seen everything: the family's indifference, my sacrifices, and the truth I'd been too tired to face. Inside the sterile, fluorescent-lit room at Wells Fargo, Evelyn Harper lifted the lid of Grandma Eleanor's safety deposit box with a reverence that made my heart pound. The box, a heavy steel rectangle, sat on the table like a relic from another era, its contents organized with the meticulous precision I'd come to associate with Eleanor, the woman who'd built a financial consulting firm with nothing but grit and a card table. As Evelyn sifted through the folders, each labeled in Eleanor's elegant, trembling script, I felt the weight of 3 years of caregiving press against my chest. I'd spent those years believing I was holding her world together, but now I wondered if she'd been the one holding mine. The first folder revealed property deeds, not just for the Craftsman house in Laurelhurst with its rose garden and creaky porch swing, but for 6 rental properties scattered across Portland and its suburbs. Each was fully paid off, generating thousands in monthly income. I blinked, my mind struggling to reconcile the Eleanor who fretted over grocery bills with this savvy investor. The second folder was even more staggering: stock certificates in tech giants like Apple and Microsoft, municipal bonds from Oregon cities, and mutual funds dating back to the 1970s. Evelyn's fingers danced across her phone, calculating. "Based on current market values," she said, her voice tinged with awe, "these assets total approximately $25 million. My knees buckled. Eleanor, who'd clipped coupons and reused tea bags, had built a secret financial empire, a fortune hidden behind her modest life. I'd been scraping by on my dwindling savings to care for her, while she sat on wealth that could have hired an army of nurses. But it was the third folder that undid me. Inside was a letter, its pages soft from handling, addressed to me in Eleanor's unmistakable handwriting. "My dearest Mave," it began, "when you read this, you'll know I was never as lost as they thought. Every choice I made was deliberate, including letting you care for me when I could have afforded the best professional help." Tears stung my eyes as her words unfolded. She'd watched our family's dynamics with a clarity no one suspected, noting how they took my sacrifices for granted. She saw how Sophia, Ethan, and Lucas had been propped up by family money: Sophia's San Francisco condo, Ethan's startup, Lucas's tuition, while I worked 2 jobs to get through college. She'd seen my mother, Patricia, nudge me into the caregiver role, absolving herself with excuses about her part-time accounting job. "You gave me dignity, companionship, and love," Eleanor wrote, when others saw me as a burden. This is my way of giving that back. A new shock came when Evelyn handed me a small USB drive from the box, labeled simply Mave. Contained a short audio recording, a snippet from a family video call I hadn't known Eleanor overheard. Sophia's voice, sharp and dismissive, cut through. "Maeve's perfect for this. She's got nothing to lose, no husband, no kids, no big career. Let her handle Eleanor." My mother's reply was a knife to my heart. "Yeah, Maeve's always been our problem solver." I felt like I'd been punched. They hadn't just ignored my sacrifices, they'd weaponized them, seeing me as a tool to offload their guilt. Eleanor's voice, faint but firm, followed in the recording. "I heard them, Mave. I'm documenting this for you." She'd been watching, not confused but calculating, preserving proof of their callousness. Leaving the bank, I clutched the folders and USB drive, my mind reeling. Portland's streets blurred past, food carts steaming, cyclists weaving through traffic, as Evelyn led me back to her office. Her steady presence anchored me, but I felt like I was floating, caught between betrayal and revelation. Eleanor's letter had cracked open a truth I'd avoided. My family didn't value me, they valued my usefulness. The notes I'd found in her books and tea tins weren't random. They were her way of preparing me, whispering strength for the moment I'd need it most. Back at Evelyn's office, the conference room was a pressure cooker. My family waited, their earlier smugness replaced by a tense, predatory silence. Sophia paced by the window, her heels clicking like a metronome. Ethan and Lucas huddled, whispering, their eyes darting to me. My mother sat rigid, her fingers twisting her wedding ring. They'd heard about the bank visit. Rumors travel fast in families hungry for inheritance. Evelyn took her place at the head of the table, her folders arranged with deliberate care. Eleanor Sinclair's estate, she announced, is valued at approximately $25 million, including real estate, investments, and liquid assets. Through an irrevocable trust established 6 months before her death, Mave Sinclair is the sole beneficiary, aside from the minor gifts read earlier. The room exploded. Sophia's voice rose above the chaos. Mave manipulated her. Eleanor had dementia. She couldn't make decisions like that. Ethan demanded to see the trust's legal documents, his tech bro confidence crumbling. Lucas insisted they could challenge it, citing Eleanor's obvious cognitive decline. My mother stared at me, her shock laced with something like betrayal, as if I'd stolen something that was rightfully hers. Their accusations stung, but Evelyn was prepared. She produced medical reports from 3 specialists, confirming Eleanor's mental clarity when she created the trust. She read from Eleanor's journal, a meticulous record of my family's indifference, Sophia's canceled visits, Ethan's empty promises of financial help, Lucas's casual dismissal of Eleanor's needs. Emma has everything handled, they'd said, as if my life was a blank slate for their convenience. Evelyn then played the USB recording for the room. Sophia's face drained of color as her own voice echoed, exposing her callous words. My mother flinched, unable to meet my eyes. Eleanor's journal went further, detailing how she'd tested the family, pretending to need help to see who'd step up. Only I had, rearranging my life while they chased their ambitions. Mave's sacrifices were worth $250,000 in professional caregiving, Evelyn read, quoting Eleanor's calculations. But her love was priceless. For the first time, I felt seen not as the family fixer, but as someone whose heart mattered. My family's outrage revealed their true colors, but Eleanor's legacy gave me something stronger, the truth about my worth and the courage to claim it. Eleanor's letter didn't just hand me a fortune, it gave me freedom. Mave, she wrote, never apologize for claiming what you've earned. Don't let them guilt you into giving up what they didn't help build. With Evelyn Harper's guidance, I learned the trust allowed me to spend wisely on education, a home, or charity, while shielding the assets from my family's grasping hands. I left the Craftsman house, its rose-lined porch heavy with memories of sacrifice, and bought a modern condo in Portland's Pearl District. Its floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Willamette River, a daily reminder of my fresh start. I returned to graphic design, co-founding a creative studio where I mentored young artists, my passion no longer tethered to financial strain. I also met Caleb, a freelance photographer whose quiet respect for my independence felt like a gift. He saw me, not what I could do for him. My family tried to claw their way back. My mother wielded family unity like a weapon, while Ethan pitched shady business deals. But I set boundaries, texting the group. I need space to grieve Eleanor and plan my future. I'll reach out when I'm ready. Thanks for understanding. Sophia called me selfish, but I no longer felt the need to apologize for protecting my peace. 2 years later, I stood at Eleanor's grave, placing roses from my new garden on her headstone. Thank you, I whispered, for seeing my worth when I couldn't. Her legacy wasn't just wealth, it was liberation from toxic expectations, a chance to live a life I'm proud of. Here are 5 lessons I learned. First, true love doesn't demand endless sacrifice, it fosters growth. Second, my worth isn't defined by others' approval but by my actions. Third, boundaries are strength, not selfishness. Fourth, silence can hide profound wisdom. Eleanor's notes proved that. Fifth, reinvention is possible no matter how trapped you feel. If this story moved you, hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more tales of resilience and self-discovery.